Okay, hello everyone. So as I was just saying, I'm back. I arrived late last night and am generally a little bit discombobulated, but I'm really happy to be back in the swing of things here with 15 minutes of positivity. So thank you everyone for partaking. And as usual, I like to make these sessions to some extent. They're sort of a reflection of what's going on for me in my life, since there's an endless array of things that like a never-ending opportunity to practice. And so this was me the other day. I missed my one of my connections, and I was that guy that was racing through the huge Frankfurt airport, huffing and puffing, and then managed to miss my flight by just literally just a few minutes. It's almost like I was that guy sort of pressing his nose up against the window, saying, let me in," but it didn't work. And so it made me think, when things don't go as planned, how much of my experience in that moment has to do with reacting or responding. And obviously, reactions are kind of inevitable, but I think part of one of the hallmarks of practicing these positivity skills is how quickly can you rebound and get out of that reactivity back into a place where there's more of a choiceful response. And I thought, what a great opportunity to practice that. And in my case, it went from just feeling really irritated, and also I was so out of breath. The Frankfurt airport is huge, and I ran, I don't know, probably 2.5 kilometers to try to get from gate B to gate Z and all that stuff. And then just to, miss my flight literally just by a few minutes was frustrating. I was out of breath, and I was sort of annoyed and pissed off at the people who wouldn't, let me on the plane, and all of these different things. And then literally as I was catching my breath, I was able to activate this more responsive part of my being, and just kind of took stock. I sat down. I first and foremost appreciated the fact that I could run 2.5 kilometers, and actually was able to put in the effort and got my little workout in. So that was good. And then they put me up in a hotel, and I was safe, and I got to actually have some time to just be by myself and relax and drink some German beer and sort of make the most of of the situation. So I thought, let's do some practicing of responding. And the flavor that I'd like to add in here is, I've read this quote before, one of my favorites, from Viktor Frankl, a concentration camp survivor and author. And he says that between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. And so I thought, let's spend a few minutes today seeing if we can make contact with that space between stimulus and response. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So, start by closing your eyes. And let's begin just by dropping into the present moment and taking stock of what is actually happening right here, right now. It's not in the past, not what we're anticipating will happen in the future, but literally right here, right now. Most of us are sitting. So notice, how do you know that you're sitting? Meaning, what are the telltale signs that you're sitting? And notice what the feet are doing. Notice your hamstrings and your glutes and your lower back in contact with the chair or recliner, whatever you happen to be sitting in. And just notice, this is what it's like in this moment. Just be. And you can add in awareness of breath, noticing that the body's breathing, noticing the in breath followed by a pause, followed by the out breath. Noticing this cycle just repeats itself over and over. And there's nothing we need to do to make that happen. The body knows exactly how to breathe. The body knows how to sit. In some ways, we just need to let it happen. And then using memory, bring to mind a moment where things did not go as planned. Maybe you had an intention to be somewhere or at a certain time. You were working on something and wanted a certain outcome, and things went differently. And the first thing that I invite you to notice is in that instance, when you notice that things are going left instead of right, notice the language. Notice the I would call the explanatory style that emerges in the mind. Now, did you make a mistake? Is there an error that happened? And whose fault is it? And does this always happen? Is that things never go the way that you wanted them to go? Just noticing the language that the mind uses to explain what just happened. And then remembering that between stimulus and response, there's a space. And see if you can make contact with the space between what's happening and what the mind is saying is happening or has happened. Usually, in these kinds of situations, the mind speeds up, stories come fast and furious, trying to make sense of the situation. And between that narrative and what's actually happening, so in my case, I was just actually sitting on a bench at the airport, catching my breath. Between that reality and the story in my mind, there's a big space, big neutral space. In that space was my freedom to choose my response. To see if you can find space in your scenario and imagine yourself choosing your response. Not saying that our reactivity is inherently bad, but it can lead to rash decisions, saying things that afterwards maybe we regret. And so it's really important in those situations to be able to find that space. In your scenario, if you can make contact with that space, then the next question is how to respond, how to choose actions and words, behaviors. And I've found that in those moments, if I can connect with my values and ask myself, well, what's most important here, and connect to my core values, my choices and my responses usually result in the best outcome. So maybe in your memory, asking yourself, what is the compassionate response? What's the loving thing to do? How can I choose to be more patient, kinder? And then just imagine yourself responding in that way. I think of reactions oftentimes come from a place of fear, and responses come from a place of strength and freedom. Breathing into that space, and the more we practice being in contact with that space or knowing that space exists, the easier it becomes to act in alignment with our values. And that really is the ultimate freedom. And go ahead and take a deep breath in. Exhale all the way through the mouth slowly. And hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep inhale through the nose. A long, slow exhale. And hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And go ahead and open your eyes. On back to the session. We're out of time. It feels great to be back. I hope hope this was a useful one. And the invitation is to maybe for the rest of the day, see if you can maintain contact with that space, that spaciousness, and see how it changes your behaviors. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, but I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.